Hello, site shedders, and welcome back to yet another episode. This one is the third part of the Successful Way to Build a Modern Team series that I have created with my co-host, Adrian Fedini. Adrian is from Trained Group, and this episode is called Not a Job, a Career. It stems on from the previous episode, which was titled Keeping Them Striving, and then the first episode of this series, which was titled Attracting the Right Team Members. So, as always, each episode is designed to stem in from the previous, so please make sure you go back and check them out. If you've got any questions or if you want to get hold of Adrian, jump into the Facebook community because he's a very active member in there. Otherwise, enjoy. Hey, site shedders, let me ask you something. If you could travel the world to amazing locations and do it in a way that you could claim it as a business expense, would that sound like a good idea to you? Well, let me tell you about a little program that we've got running at the Site Shed. Back in 2016, we kicked off our Travel and Learn program, and the first one we did was Ski and Learn in New Zealand. We took a bunch of Site Shed listeners and podcast trade business enthusiasts over to Wanaka, and we skied in the morning. We did a business workshop in the afternoon, and we did that for a week. And only in February of 2018, we did the second one in Hakuba in Japan, where we took a bunch of Site Shed enthusiasts across to Japan, and we skied in the morning, we did a business workshop in the afternoon. And guys, the reason we put this program together is because, we know as hard as business owners, as trade business owners, when you're tied to location, it's very hard to get away to amazing, destinations around the world. And more to the point, when you do want to travel, you often do it in a way that you want to make sure that it's justifiable from a business point of view. So we thought, why not combine the two? Why not make an amazing business experience and an amazing holiday tied into one? So that's what we've done. And these travel and learn programs are so fantastic. And you can head across to the siteshed.com/events to check out what's been in the past and what's coming up in the future. But what I want to talk to you today about is the one that's coming up in July, which is the very first Surf and Learn program. And that Surf and Learn program is going to be held in the Maldives. That's right, we're taking a group of site shedders over to the Maldives, and we're going to be doing the full boat experience, which is going to be amazing. It's a bucket list item for a lot of people. We've chartered a luxury yacht, and we're going to be spending 7 nights on a yacht, touring around the Maldives, around the atolls there, surfing amazing locations, diving, snorkeling, hanging out, having a great time. And of course, we're going to be running a business workshop in there as well. So you'll be able to invest in your business in a beautiful, beautiful location while sitting on a luxury yacht in the Maldives. So it sounds like a pretty good opportunity, I am sure, to a lot of you guys out there. The caveat is, of course, that we're going to be on a boat, and boats have limited space. As it stands, we only have about 5 spots left. So if it sounds like something you want to do, head across to the siteshed.com/events. And you can navigate towards the Surf and Learn Maldives page there, where you'll be able to see all the information relevant to the trip. And of course, you'll be able to secure your position with a deposit. Anyway, that's all from me. Hopefully I'll see you there. Otherwise, we'll hopefully see you at one of the future events. We're going to be doing a lot of these. So ski surf, ski surf, ski surf. And we may be throwing in a few other ones in between. So that's all from me.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Hello listeners, and welcome back to Toolbox Talks on the Site Shed podcast. My name is Matt Jones, and you are joining us today for the third and final episode in the 3-part series that I'm recording with my friend and colleague Adrian Fedini from Trained Group. Adrian, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Matt.
And so, Adrian, this is the Successful Way to Build a Modern Team podcast series, and it has been spurred through conversations within the Facebook community. As you know, it seems to be far more of a journey, this topic, than a destination. And so we've done quite a lot of podcasts in the past that have talked about similar things, and I feel like the topic just is forever evolving, and there's never really a right or wrong with this. It just keeps going and going, and there's always better ways to be doing things. So the first episode, we were talking about attracting the right team members in the sorry, that was the first episode, yeah. And in the second episode, we were talking about keeping those team members striving. And in this episode, we're talking about, well, it's not really a job, it's a career, and how to, offer your team members a career instead of a, like, inverted commas, job. Do you want to give us a quick recap on those last couple of episodes, please?
Absolutely, mate. So going back to number one, we were talking about how to attract the right team members. And the key point that we wanted to make is, and we've all heard this before, and we've even said it, I've even been guilty of saying it years ago, there's no good team or no good staff members out there. The market's full, and even the good ones have already got jobs. And what we do, the second we do that, we become powerless, and then we kind of lay the responsibility and the blame at the feet of the market, and therefore we can't change anything. So the first step in attracting the right staff is, what can I do differently? The be, do, have model. Who do I need to be? What do I need to do to have the right team? So that's the number one. From the second series, we were talking about how to keep the team members striving. And one of the things I forgot actually to mention in that episode was, and one of the first points was giving them one-on-ones and giving them feedback, and about outsourcing that rather than doing it yourself. But I want to paint a picture, and I can't remember where I picked this up, but I picked it up at a seminar in the last year or so. And I was talking about 18-year-old kids, or even possibly 16-year-old kids that come into your business. And this is all about feedback. And they've grown up with social media, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and all of their life up until the point they start working with a trade business. They've been getting feedback. They've gone to go and make a sandwich. They got feedback. They got likes and they got dislikes. And then they've also gone out and gone and played soccer or done something else. And every single time they do something, they post it on social media, and they're getting feedback if they're doing the right or the wrong thing. Us older guys that tend to own the business haven't really, even though we are savvy with social media, haven't experienced that to the same degree. So especially with the young guys, I'd be giving them feedback even daily and weekly, whether it be their tradesmen or from the actual bosses themselves. So I think it's a crucial part to understand that we don't always think the same way.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I never really thought of that before, but I guess that is a reality of the society we live in, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And our older generation, and I'm not even talking that old, mid-30s to above, just don't quite see it the same way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Well, in this episode, we're sort of wrapping it up here with, the idea around, instead of, offering people within your team a job, we really offer them a career path. And this is something that I picked up from the great Al Levy. He actually talked about this in one of his podcasts, and he, built an empire over the years, and he's helped many other companies build their empire. And that's one of the things that he puts a lot of emphasis on. It's actually, instead of, he said to me, and when I asked him in one of the recordings, how do you avoid that scenario where you're in such a competitive market space, in the sense that there's so many companies out there that are looking for, there's not enough workers to basically fill the spots. And so, there's this massive amount of jobs available, and there's just people all working. And then there's that scenario where, one of my staff members got offered an extra, $3 an hour to go work at this other job, and they took it. And he said, well, one of the ways that you avoid doing that is by, instead of offering them just a typical job, you offer them some sort of career path, because, somebody may be able to give you an extra few bucks an hour, but where are they going to be in the next 5 or 10 years if they don't have that career path that's been mapped out for them? Yeah. So what's your take on that?
So great. It kind of followed on beautifully from the last question you asked me on the last episode. And we've probably heard this a million times. You need to cast a vision of what the career looks like for them inside your business, and how they can get that. And I think career path is only part of the solution. There's two more parts to it. I think they also need to have a personal life path, as well as a wealth creation path as well. So I'll start with the personal life path as well. What we've found is in so many businesses, there's coaches out there that coach the business owner, but they don't go and train the team. So you're only addressing half of the business, and as opposed to possibly 10 people. So how do we upskill the team members so they've got those skills forever? Okay. So then they see, okay, the boss is investing in me. He's taking his money out of his pocket, putting it down, training me to be better. And there's actually no guarantee that I will stay around. But again, back to my comment that I mentioned to you, the quote that I love, the Richard Branson one: train them so well that they could leave at any time, but treat them so well that they never want to. So the key part here is show by actions that you're investing in them, so they've got skills. And those skills that I mentioned to you before are around communication, understanding, empathy, getting this what they're typically known as soft skills. Okay, so that's how to get that, and also to linking their personal goals with the business goals. So we only did this last Friday with about 20 tradesmen. There was probably 80% of the guys in the room were plumbers, but there was some sparkies in the room as well. But we said, look, no one cares about you. No employer out there cares about. Tongue-tied. Right? No employer cares about as much as you. Sorry.
No employee cares as much about your business as you do.
No, I'll start that one. No employer cares as much as the current one you have. Jesus, that was a mess, wasn't it? Keep that in, mate. That's good. But basically, they want to, in one of our trainings, we're setting like a bucket list. What do you want to do before you pass away? You know, this is conversations that people don't want to have. Now, then what we did after that was link those personal goals with the business goals. It was profound. Guys were going, wow, I never even thought of this before. So now they realise that their personal goals and the stuff they want to achieve outside of work is now connected to their work. Once you have fulfilling relationships outside of work, you're feeling fantastic at work. You're engaged. You're not trying to watch the clock until the day finishes, because everything's aligned now.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the third piece of the puzzle is you give them good wages, you give them great bonuses and incentives, and they end up earning more money. And I've heard the argument, but then I've got to pay tax. So the way to become clever and intelligent about the whole system is about partnering up with the right people about wealth creation. We're already doing this with my brother. My brother's name's Julian Fedeni, owns two companies, Bellevue Capital and Property 360. And we're showing the guys, not only the business owners, but the team members, how they can go and invest into assets to go and grow their net worth. So then all of a sudden, there no longer becomes a conversation that I want to go and leave to start my own business to make more money, because now they can see a wealth creation path. And that is, the feedback we're getting, this is just changing the whole game.
Well, I mean, I've got to be honest, and I've said this over and over again on the podcast over the years. You know, when I went through my apprenticeship, at no point did I ever have anyone who could offer me any sort of guidance or any sort of, idea of what to do with the money you're making. And when you're an apprentice, you're a bit of a rock star. Like, you're out there, you're working while all your mates at university, you're making money. They're not. What do you do with it? In my instance, I went out and partied and shouted everyone drinks. So it would be. I think it's so important that people have that sort of guidance and have that mentorship from somebody, because very often, a lot of people don't have parents that can give them that sort of advice. They just don't know it. Not through neglect. You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. And also, too, you need to deal with experts. You need to deal with people that are reputable, have experience. The most expensive advice in the world is free advice. So, it ends up losing whatever money you may have if you don't get it from an expert that knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think that's a very, very important initiative. I just hope business owners out there that are listening to this podcast, they can kind of take that on board, because from somewhere that's been there and someone that's been there and done that, I dream of being able to go back in time and, with the wisdom and knowledge that I have now, and being able to implement back in those days. But anyway.
Yeah, it's funny. With wealth creation, it's definitely a time game. So the earlier you start, obviously the sooner you become financially independent.
So I suppose what I'd like to talk a little bit about as well is the is how offering that career path can reduce your staff turnover, and that whole churn and burn scenario that I know a lot of companies operate in. And I don't know if there's a magic formula to this, to be honest. Like, I work with a lot of companies around, both here and abroad, and I see trends that exist within organisations of all different sizes, and it all relates to, staff turnover. And I'm just wondering, like, in your experience with somebody that teaches this sort of stuff, do you think there's like a certain magic pill that...
Yeah, I don't know about magic pill, but there's a formula, right? So true growth, and this is, I think I got this from a guy called Dr. John DeMartini, and this is a great, I guess, rule or what he calls a universal law. True growth happens on the border of supporting someone and challenging someone. And what I mean by that is that if you make your environment work and you've got bean bags and you've got days off and it's all lovely and it's all laxed, people become really, really kind of useless and lazy.
Complacent.
And Correct, complacent. And they start to get this superiority complex that I'm so valuable. Or conversely, if you're a hard-ass boss and you're constantly yelling and screaming and you're pushing them and you want more and you want more and you're never happy, they end up leaving you too because they go, you're a prick and you're just basically not, you don't value them and you don't care for them. So where the actual, and this is a proven universal law, where the true sweet spot is like in the middle of challenging him to be better, challenging him to be smarter, challenging him to be stronger, and also to supporting him to go and do that. And also to being okay if they fail while they're doing it. Give them responsibility, and if they stuff it up, as long as it doesn't go and hurt anyone or cost you a fortune, you need to mitigate those failures too, so they can make small failures that don't go and cost you a mint. So as they're growing, and this is how people start to go, wow, this is really a career where I can go and I can get out of my comfort zone, but I can come back into it when it's a bit too much. So then people go, I want to be a part of this company forever.
We interrupt this podcast today to talk to you very quickly about Tradie Web Guy's content creation program. That program has been designed specifically for trade-based organizations as a way that you guys as trade business owners can start creating content that enables you to engage better with your customers and your potential customers. It will enable you to build trust and build rapport because what you're doing is you're investing in educating them. Biggest problem that we see with our customers today is that they're not regularly updating their websites. And that's a problem because first of all, the search engines are looking for that. And second of all, potential customers are also looking for it. Tradie Web Guy's content creation program has been specifically designed to help you get regular, relevant content on your website consistently every month. We know that it's hard when you're out there on the tools, and we know that sometimes you don't always have the time to be able to do these things yourself. So we're taking it off your hands for you. It's a service that we're offering for you guys. We want to make sure that you're getting this done because we know how important it is. Anyway, head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/content, fill in the form, and one of our representatives will come back to you. So the obvious question that I think we're all thinking then is, how do you go about doing this? Like what frameworks do you put in place to set that standard and deliver that message, and then more importantly, track the metrics?
Delegate to someone like ourselves.
Right.
We look, you can't do everything. I'm not too. We're fortunate. We're busy. We always love new clients, but we're not too fast if we do or don't. We want to work with the right people. But the reality is, you can't do everything. Right? There's a great quote that says, "You can do anything, but you can't do everything." So delegate the one-on-one accountability and leadership process out to somebody else. And all of that information comes back to you as the business owner. And then also too, you get to go and concentrate on all the stuff that pushes the business forward, whether it be sales or networking or managing the actual business itself. So the short answer is delegate it. You can just put it inside when you're working out what you should be charging each year. You put in an allocation for training and you just adjust your prices accordingly.
Look, and I think that's probably true for so many things, like as business owners, especially when we're, in the early stages of business and we don't have a lot of, I suppose, funding, you could say, or, capital available to us. And we sometimes try and do too many things, to wear too many hats. But I think in my experience, part of the problem is being able to communicate, what that effectively can be costing the business negatively from a negative point of view. It's a hard thing when you don't. It's a hard thing to try and relate to business owners sometimes. That may not have a lot of cash flow. How much money you could potentially be saving them.
Yeah, if you go and start doing your own social media or building your own website and you're an electrician, it's going to become probably the worst website you've ever built and the most expensive as well. So you focus on what you're good at, whether that's actually doing the work or acquiring new clients, and delegate the rest out. Yeah,
exactly. And so I'm curious to hear your thoughts. So if we can take it back, a step, and from a business owner's perspective, and I've got a fair idea of how this might look because I've sort of had similar conversations with other guests on the show. But when you're as a framework for the listeners out there that are business owners and they're thinking, okay, I'm really into this. I'm really into this series. I love the idea of how to build a modern team. And this is, I suppose, something that we haven't necessarily addressed in any of these episodes yet. But the reality of, we might come back to this in a minute, how business has evolved over the years and how how the business that your former boss or the person you did your apprenticeship with, how that business model has changed to where it is today. But we'll come back to that one in a sec. But then I'd just really like to, I suppose, leave the listeners before we close out this episode and thus this series, with a bit of a framework, and maybe you and I can bounce a few ideas off each other in giving the listeners out there like a clear step-by-step framework on how to get best results from bringing new team members in from scratch. But so, I mean, look, I think before we do go down that rabbit warren, let's talk a little bit about the evolution of business. And this is something I think that is so important to business owners out there. And it's one of the reasons as well that I started the SiteShed podcast. It was because I knew that as business owners, your exposure to, I suppose, the evolution of business, tools, tactics, community, people, networking, so on and so forth, is often very limited to the environment that you are surrounded in. And what I mean by that is, when I did my apprenticeship, we were, albeit that was quite a while ago, but I know there's still some companies out there, because I have these conversations with companies on a weekly basis. There are still companies out there that are still doing the old, invoicing from a carbon copy notepad kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily because they're stupid. Far from it. It's just the reality of the fact that they're not familiar with tools that are available in today's marketplace, which can streamline these processes.
Yeah, I can add to this, mate. Everything this is the one thing, and I must admit, I did forget to mention it in the second episode. Every single piece of the training, and this is the way the world's evolved, and this is something that I've only learned probably in the last 18 months as well. Like I used to say, training is the answer. Training is the answer. Training is definitely part of the answer. But what you need to do, and what we provide with our clients too, is at the end of every single training, because I need to do this and I need to do that. You go do the training and you kind of get back to the office and go, oh, shit, I saw the training. I did the piece of, I did the actual training. Now I don't know exactly what to do. So what we now do is provide you a step-by-step process to implement what you learned at the training so it actually happens.
Yeah.
And this is just profound because, and I got this from, Travis, a friend of ours, and the listeners will find out about him soon. Travis made this brilliant analogy. You can watch a MasterChef episode on how to make a chocolate souffle, okay? You watch 45 minutes, you watch how it goes, and at the end of that, go and make a chocolate souffle, you'll probably burn your house down because it's the great experience, and that's where training is fantastic, but you need the process to follow on from it. Yeah. And that's what we provide. So that's the difference, I guess.
Yeah, and I think, obviously, I suppose the beauty of the reality of the situation is, Adrian, at the moment we're talking to business owners and they're listening to this through a podcast, which kind of means that they're typically the type of people that are wanting to learn, and they are the type of people that are open to ideas, and they're open to all the stuff that we preach through the podcast. Like, these are really ideally great quality, inverted commas, leads, I suppose, for people that are looking to grow and advance their business and their personal skills and whatever it might be. However, the reality of the situation is that the majority of people are not out, or the majority of tradespeople out there are not listening to podcasts. They're probably out there listening to the radio, and they may well be stuck in that environment that we spoke about, where they're not really getting exposed to new, better ways of running a business. So they're effectively taking a knife to a gunfight when they're coming up against competition. And it's unfortunate, but it's the reality of the situation. So I think for the listeners out there, it's really important to, I'm not necessarily saying adopt, everything that we talk about, but certainly embrace it and certainly do your own research and certainly reach out to people that have done it, as opposed to people that have not done it, but that can tell you why you shouldn't do it. Because I think that's the biggest fallacy of all time, listening to people that haven't actually done something, and nothing annoys me more.
Yeah, absolutely. There's, me, my quotes, I love it. Gandhi says, be the change you want in the world. So even though our competition as tradies are not doing what we're saying, and some people may perceive this to be make you more expensive, but when you start to do it, it actually gives you a competitive edge. And it's like a tidal wave, or a changing of a tide is probably a better way to explain it. So eventually people will or the trades will start to recognize that there's more of a movement happening. And I know that's something that's dear to your heart and my heart, about making some like a paradigm shift in the whole industry.
100% on the money. So Adrian, before we wrap this up, why don't we just do that? Let's collaborate on, I suppose, a bit of a framework for the listeners out there that can close off this series in ways to build a successful and modern team. So when we talk about attracting the right team members, I think we both agree that it's very important that you have a very clear understanding of the roles and responsibilities within the organisation, and then you can ascertain through profiling the type of person that you want to fit that role.
Matt, I might even chuck in something extra. Apart from the freebie I was going to give for the videos going out to everybody's mobile phone on training, actually, I don't think we've even mentioned that in this episode. I'd like to give the next 3 people that sign up, I don't know how you'll manage this, we'll give them one of the behavioural assessments. They're valued at $400 each, so they're not a small thing. Just so people can start to at least get a taste and see what these behavioural assessments are like.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm not sure how I'll structure that myself, but maybe we'll. Well, no, actually, you know what? It'll be easy to structure because anyone that fills in the web form on the show notes, that will come through to you and I, Adrian, and the first 3 you can give it to, and people
3.
that come after that don't get it. Too bad.
Otherwise, I'll need another job.
All right, cool. And so then, so that then is, I suppose, from a foundational point of view internally, that's how we would approach ascertaining what type of person we want for the job. And then we would then portray that message within our marketing, which goes out through various methods. And I think we both agree, with the help of people like Danny Kerr, who also practices, getting your team to send that message out and using your team as a marketing vehicle to attract the right people into your business. That seems like a pretty bit of a no-brainer. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%, mate. I think we can definitely talk offline and set up that framework.
Yeah, cool. And then so then moving on to keeping your staff motivated, keeping them striving. The message that I got from that is just basically be willing to invest in their development and be willing to, I suppose, upskill them.
Definitely invest in their development. Provide feedback.
Okay,
Feedback is probably the key part in that.
Okay. Yep. Good. And then moving into this episode here, where we're talking about offering them a job, not a career, we'll just do exactly that. You can either go down the path of hiring somebody for a position, or you can bring someone on board where you can give them a clear path, which helps them achieve their goals, and you can give them a vehicle which can enable them to do that. So, is there anything else you'd add to that?
No, I think you've wrapped it up nicely.
All right, beautiful. All right, well, look, I think we're going to close it out here. So that was the third part of the Successful Way to Build a Modern Team podcast series. By all means, folks, if you didn't hear the other 2, go back and listen to them, because the way that we typically structure these series is so that the following one leads into the previous. So it will make a lot more sense if you go back and listen to them. Adrian, on behalf of everyone, I just want to thank you once again for your time and your wisdom. My pleasure, Matt. Thank you very much for having me. It's an absolute honour. I know everybody enjoys the Fedini experience. So for the listeners out there, if you've got any questions, of course, you'll be able to reach Adrian through the show notes. We'll have his contact details on there. However, also, just jump in the Facebook community. It is free, and Adrian is a very active part of that community. So when you see that podcast go live within the group, rest assured there will be plenty of comments, and Adrian will be there flying the flag to answer those ones. So that's probably the easiest way to get hold of him. Adrian, you have left some very valuable tools there for the listeners. Some of them are your weekly video coaching snippets, would you call it? Yeah, we call them Learn and Earn series, and it's Tuesday training tips for tradies. Oh, cool. There's some points for alliteration as well. Yeah, exactly right. We love phonetics. So basically, they're all less than 2 minutes, about 90 seconds, and every single one of them has got a nice little punch to it. So something that can help you on the spot, directly to your mobile when you're in front of a customer. Could be a sales training tip, could be a management tip, could be a leadership tip, and we've got 52. They come out every single week of the year. Fantastic. All right, folks. So you can get a hold of them once again through the show notes. Just go fill in the form, and you will go on to that. You will start receiving those training tips. And as Adrian alluded to, there is going to be, for the first 3 lucky subscribers, you're going to get a complimentary consultation valued at, what was it, $500 or something? Yeah, $400. It's actually not only just my consultation, it's a behavioural assessment. And I'll measure 2 things: the behaviour of somebody as well as their motivators, what they're motivated by, which helps immensely when you come to a recruiting team. Yeah, brilliant. And just while we're talking about that, I've spoken about this in the podcast previously as well, but that behavioural assessment, I did one of them years and years ago. Peter Cox, the infamous leadership consultant, he put me through that probably 10, 15 years ago. And that was a turning point for my entire life. It actually made me realize why people hate me so much and why I piss people off.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, no, but it was powerful because it made me realize why, the way that I communicate to people may not be the way that they want to be communicated to, and vice versa. So that was definitely a turning point, and I'm forever grateful for that. So anyway, let's close. I think we can pretty much close that out. Thank you again once for your time, Adrian. For the listeners, if you did enjoy this podcast series, do me a favor. First of all, go share it with somebody who can benefit from it, and second of all, leave us some comments in iTunes or wherever you're listening to it, because it does help our ratings and it does help us keep doing this show and creating this awesome content with amazing people like Adrian. So if that's not too much to ask, it'll take you 2 minutes. That's all we ask for. We don't ask for a lot. Go and do that. And I think that's a wrap.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Toolbox Talks. If you're liking what you hear, then you can head across to the siteshed.com where you can join our community by signing up to our Toolbox Talks. You'll get sent a weekly notification, which is basically a highlight of everything that we've spoken about during that week, along with any other industry news that may be relevant or specific to the trades. If you're enjoying the show, you can head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, where you can leave us a review. That would be fantastic, and all the reviews get read out in the show. Likewise, if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from the show and the episodes that we create, then please go ahead and share it with them.